Timmy Turner is known for making some horrendous wishes that always backfire. But that begs the question, what was Timmy's best wish? This can be measured in many different ways, from its concept to its intention and how much of an impact it had on the show. Let's begin. Power Mad, which is the second episode in season 1, is where I'll look to first. The story is about Timmy traveling inside his virtual reality video game to save his friends from a virtual reality Vicky. If you actually look at the wish itself, it is pretty vague and it is the reason they almost end up game ending themselves. But let's think about this from the perspective of this being the 2000s. The concept of virtual reality wasn't something the world seemed logical at the time. Sure, there were attempts to break into the idea, like the Virtual Boy, which was a Nintendo console you could put in front of your eyes and play the video game through that. Not only was it incredibly clunky and just not good at all, but it was a sign that it would take a long time for this to be a reality. So Timmy being able to experience technology that wouldn't be commonly available until over 10 years in the future is objectively cool. I can't speak since I wasn't alive in the 2000s to watch this episode, but I can imagine any kid watching this episode and wishing they were Timmy. Some of this shit still looks cool to this day, although I have noticed that the animators love these Matrix references. It was the 2000s, but this shit still looks ass. Also, there's a massive plot hole with the wish itself.
Then I wish them out of the game!
You can't! Quote, I wish for a video game that's challenging, a game that you can't wish yourself out of, unquote.
Okay, but Timmy isn't wishing himself out of the game, he's wishing Chester and AJ out of the game. So by that logic, he should be able to wish for this. Don't talk to my boy Timmy like that, he's right. All in all though, it's a pretty fun wish, and considering how ahead of its time it is, it's up there for his best just for its concept alone. Keeping with the theme of futuristic wishes, in the episode Deja Vu, after Timmy has a pretty bad day, even by Timmy Turner standards, he wishes for a redo watch that can turn back time so that he can fix every mistake he made. Like the concept of having VR in the 2000s, creating literal time travel has to be up there with something anyone would want. The power it has in this one episode is able to completely change the outcome of his day, and the only reason this backfires is because 1, Timmy is dumb enough to leave it unattended, allowing Vicky to get it, and 2, because apparently he should have wished for a watch that only he could use, which is dumb because Wanda could have literally said that in the beginning of the episode, and thus this whole scenario would have never gotten out of hand.
I can't! Whoever wears the watch is in control! Next time you should make sure gadgets like that only work for you!
Like, why couldn't you have done this in the beginning? I know that this is a nitpick, and if I were to comment on this every time it happens, the show would fall apart, but still. Overall, if placed in the right hands, this would still be an absolute game breaker of a wish. There are some wishes in the show that are less about how cool they are, and they're instead used to show us that despite his shortcomings, Timmy is a good person. And one of these is in the birthday wish. After Timmy ignores Tootie's invitation to a birthday party, and seeing all the torment she goes through with Vicky because of it, he feels guilty, and decides to loan his fairies to her for the day.
Hey, cut it out! You're making me feel weird. Bad weird.
It's called guilt, sport! It's a magical emotion!
No, it isn't! It's horrible!
Keep in mind that he doesn't even like her. He's shown time and time again to reject any romantic advances she makes. She constantly stalks him and should probably be in jail, but I guess when cartoon women do it, it's funny. But despite that, he can still relate to the struggle she has to face, with Vicky being his sister. And they even say in the episode that she's twice as miserable as Timmy, which does beg the question of why she doesn't get fairies in the show, but that's not the point. The good thing about these kinds of selfless wishes is that no matter how much they backfire, it's still a good wish because the intentions were pure. Timmy may be many things, but he's not heartless, and him doing something good for someone who goes through what he does on an even worse scale shows that and makes him more likable. The Crimson Chin is a comic book superhero within the Fairly OddParents universe, and a fan favorite character. He's funny, he's a superhero, and his design and words are exactly what to expect from that 1960s type comic superhero thing. After wishing that the Crimson Chin was in his universe, he comes to the realization that he's not even real, and has an existential crisis. Timmy then puts himself into the comic book world of Crimson Chin to snap him out of it. I'm putting this among his best wishes because it gave us some of the most entertaining episodes in the show, such as the big superhero wish. Watching the characters navigate comic book panels, fighting comic book supervillains, and all this creative art never gets old. With all that considered, this should definitely be one of his best wishes for entertainment value. Mark Chang is another recurring character in the show, an alien from the planet Yucatania, where instead of being scared of normal things, they get scared by fuzzy animals, bright colors, and children.
The laughter of children!
Mark is the result of Timmy wishing for an alien like the ones he sees in Crash Nebula. But since for some reason fairies aren't good at making aliens, they borrow one instead. An alien from one of the most feared military planets in the whole universe.
That
makes sense!
Mark's main contribution to the show is his crush on Vicky, Timmy's babysitter. This leads into all sorts of hijinks and some of the most entertaining episodes in the show. There's an entire trilogy of episodes all centered around Timmy and Mark having space battles, saving themselves from a race of adorable space bunnies, and all kinds of stuff. I liked all these episodes, they're really fun, and if it weren't for Timmy wishing for an alien, these episodes would have not existed. If there's one thing that I hated growing up, it was being told that I had to go to sleep for school. It felt like I was missing out on all the good stuff that happened at night, and I was being left out. Even though my opinion has changed and sleep is one of the most heavenly things God created, the episode Beddy raises an interesting question. What if people didn't need to sleep? It's a great idea for an episode, and seeing all the things that they would do from this very childlike perspective is a treat. The one thing that ruins the wish and the episode in general is the ambiguity of the wish. So, in that episode, the wish backfires because the people still need to sleep, but they can't sleep. This to me is pretty dumb and confusing because you would think by Timmy's words that people didn't have to sleep, that they would not be affected by getting no sleep.
I wish everybody didn't have to sleep.
But by the way it's treated later in the episode, it makes it seem like the wish was, I wish people couldn't sleep, and those are two very different things. The episode doesn't get ruined by the ambiguity of said wish, but it certainly confuses me. And being a very nitpicky person when it comes to my cartoons, I'll never be able to think past that. Still, it would be an absolute power move. You could stay up for as long as you want, with no consequences. So those are some of Timmy's best wishes. What was your favorite? And comment if there were any ones that I missed. Have a good day, and take care.